Alright guys, I think I have all the finishing touches done. So really quickly, I'm going to give you an overview of everything that I have added since the completion dinosaur, which was the last video that I uploaded. So I started continuing my way around the loop again, and so we have this pathway leading beside Dino Land here, leading up into where we have Theater in the Wild, and then there's that little bathroom that goes right there. Then you have the uh, I forget what it's called, but it's the stands that overlook the middle of the lake in the park. You have the actual Theater in the Wild here, which is currently showing the Nemo show, which if I can find the ride in here. Aha, there it is. Nemo show. It's just a 4D theater or a 3D cinema ride in there. Nothing too fancy. I used a pathway for the top, so if it looks a little bit weird, that's on purpose. So the inside is just a 3D 3D theater. I made it invisible too, so it wouldn't be poking out of the top of the roof there. So yeah, I used pathways to make this roof because all the options that I found were just, I don't know, they didn't fit what I wanted. So I decided, you know what, why not? I'll use the pathways for the roof. And I think it turned out decently. It's just, a giant building from the top view. It doesn't look that nice, but that's because as a guest in the park, you're going to be looking up from down here and you're not going to see the gray, just basic roof that this would be. So I might add more details later, but for right now, I'm happy with this. So you come over here, we have the bridge area, and then we have yet another diagonal pathway leading over here to, yes, that is correct. It is Expedition Everest. Again, one of the best roller coasters in Orlando. You have the little house right here in the beginning, and then you have the entrance of the queue, which starts right here. It goes up through this temple area. They walk through it. We can cut down the vegetation. Maybe this might be a little bit easier to see. Yep, they walk through this temple right here, which I built using a combination of different themes, up into this little shack right here where they can look through their bookings for their expedition. They come out in here and they get into the actual loading area for the ride. I think this turned out decently. It's not too detailed, but with the reference picture I was using, this actually works pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with it. Let's take a look at the inside here. Again, not much. This is actually a very long station. This is actually two stations in one for unloading, and then one for loading right here. So it might seem long, but it's actually two split into one, or two combined together, I should say. So add that vegetation back. And I did try to follow the track fairly accurately to the real life track. I was using a reference video online, which was actually very helpful for this. Now, when I first began constructing this ride in the game, I used what are they called? The mine train coaster. These ones, just like what I'm showing you right now, with these types of tracks and everything, the mine trains. And it was going well for the most part until I realized that you can't use banked slopes going downward with this. Like, I can't go down and I can't bank the slopes going down. It has to be straight, which greatly inhibited my ability to create the coaster because this coaster in particular uses so many banked slopes. It was starting to limit my capacity to recreate the coaster to its true self in real life. Luckily, using OpenRCT, I could easily switch the type of coaster I was using. So now I was able to switch it to the, what is it called? the hybrid coaster track, which has the most similar looking track to the mine train coaster because I liked the look of the mine trains and the mine train tracks because it was perfect for the Expedition Everest theme, but without those banked slopes, it just wasn't going to work. So thankfully, the hybrid coaster has the closest looking substitution to this problem. So I think the track looks pretty good, all things considered. And this one can do banked slopes, which is amazing. So it comes up here, trying my best with the theming. You start the long and slow climb, a suspenseful climb up to the top of the mountain, climbing all the way up here, where you then come up to the very peak of Everest, where you find out the track is broken. And this is the part where it flips everything on its head, and the train will then start going backwards into the mountain itself, and then you go through a whole segment where you are going backwards inside the mountain, and then it comes up to this little area in here. If we look underground, we can see the track comes up, and then you can once again switch going forwards again until where you come out here for the largest drop. I think it's the largest drop in the whole ride, but anyway, you come out here, you come down here, you make this whole, what is it, a 270-degree turn almost, and then you come all the way back up here, go through the mountain again, and then you come out to this other side where you have these two, it's like a loop and a half. Sorry, I did that backwards. Loop and a half coming up this way, and you come up through the mountain again, where you finally meet the Yeti, and it comes down here back to the station. So I'm very happy with how it turned out, because when I was first building the ride, I was actually not enjoying how it was looking, which is kind of the reason why this took so long for this video to get out, because I just was not happy with the way that it was looking with the mine train coaster not being able to do banked slopes, which was just, again, it was a huge roadblock. Once I got that fixed, it was almost smooth sailing. In fact, even before I got that fixed, I had to figure out how to get this sequence to work where the train would go up and then come down and then switch tracks right here. Then I had to figure out how to do it again when you switch tracks again to go back forward. I was trying to use the advanced track plugin to switch the tracks automatically, but then I realized, well, I don't even actually have to switch tracks at all. The way that the mechanics work in the game is that the train will come down here, it'll go up, and then as long as this little S-curve right here is the lowest one on the tile, it'll automatically just go through the second part of the track. I don't even have to switch anything. And so that's perfect, and that's what I'm doing. The only limitation that I've found that I can't work around, at least to my knowledge, is that I can't run this coaster in blocked section mode. It has to just be a free going normal mode circuit, whatever. There is no blocked section mode available because the track is technically not a complete circuit, because it has this part right here and the other part over here inside. Because of that, for some reason the game just limits blocked sections, so I have to run this thing, the trains just go. Which is kind of scary, because that means, they could crash, which they have when I was testing it. Luckily, I was able to limit it to just 3 trains, and I put some brakes down here before you get to the station, so that it, in theory, should never crash, but as a trade-off, I can only ever run 3 trains at maximum, which is not a lot of trains for such a long ride. But, oh well, you know, it works, so I'm happy with that. I'll have to just grin and bear it, unless I can figure out a way to change that later on. Anyway, then we finally have the gift shop, where you come out, you buy your picture from the ride. Oh, speaking of picture, I forgot to actually add in part of the ride where you get a picture. That would be incredibly important, wouldn't it? I think that's good. Again, when I first was building this, it was not looking that great, but now it's actually not too bad. I'm actually pretty happy with it. So, plus having all the scenery around here ties it together pretty well, and I'm pretty happy about that. So, I hope it'll run it'll run all right when there's actually guests on it, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Also, if you were paying attention, you might have noticed there was something in here that might have caught your eye. That's right, a snowman. Because there is no Yeti scenery not even in the Arctic theming. There is no Yeti, unfortunately. So I had to find something that was close enough to it to put in the ride. I was like, there has to be a Yeti in here somewhere. There has to be, because that's the whole point of the ride. But unfortunately, there was nothing close, so I thought, well, a Yeti is sometimes also called an abominable snowman, so why don't I just put, an actual snowman? So, turned out pretty well. I'm actually happy with that. So, anyway, taking another closer look here, I have just some more details. There's some more buildings right here that they have in the park that I tried to recreate. It's not perfect to one-to-one, scale of real life, but it's all right. I like it. Turned out very well. I think I did pretty good with what limitations this game has. So, anyway, that was my showcase of Expedition Everest in Roller Coaster Tycoon. And then also the Nemo show, but let's be honest, that wasn't the star of the show, now was it? Didn't take that long to create that. So, anyway. Thank you guys for waiting. Thank you for your patience in me getting this video out. I wanted to make sure it was good enough for you guys to enjoy. And thank you for viewing the videos. Thank you for leaving the likes, the comments. I love them. They are amazing. They keep me going, because sometimes this work can get a little bit tedious, and so knowing that I'm going to get those positive comments really keeps me going. So thank you again for that. All right. I'll see you guys in the next one when we take on, I don't know, Cali River Rapids, I think. So until then.